I remember one time after I started doing jiu-jitsu with you. First of all, I shared my belief system because I had a heart condition when I was small and younger, and everybody said you're never going to be able to do sports.
Yes.
And I had this mindset of my entire life. That's how I grew up, and I thought that's how it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started jiu-jitsu, I was afraid because I never done anything like this before. I never played soccer. I kind of played, but not to that
Yes.
extent. And then
Would you call it a disempowering belief?
100%. And that's why today I often talk even to my kids, man, don't fucking, like, when we dictate who we are, when we manifest, those things actually become true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to manifest the other opposite way. Like, how can I do it? How can I figure
That's
it out?
right.
So and then I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I was just getting my ass kicked from everybody, girls, guys, skinny guys, younger guys, older guys. And I was like, and to the point I talked to, I was like, Coach, I think I'm done, man. This is not for me. And then he was like, hey, wait, I'm gonna work a workshop in Oklahoma City. Come with me. And then I came.
Yes.
But because I went a different scenario, a different gym, I was kicking ass.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the pivotal moment for me that I was like, shit, this is actually, it's cool, man. Because
Yes.
like you remember
Yes.
that?
Yes, I do remember. I remember everything about it. Well, see, so I didn't talk. I kind of went over all on top of the jujitsu and stuff, but when it comes to your journey, right? Nobody told me you had a heart. It was my brother. One time that I remember, I put you to train with some tough guys, and my brother pulled me to the side, and he was like, "Hey, Eddie, let me tell you something. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you're expecting a lot from the under, but let me tell you something. He got a heart condition and stuff, and he wasn't even able to. He couldn't even go roller coasters and stuff. I was like, this is not a roller coaster." And I knew my brother thought I was a maniac and stuff, but I knew inside of my heart that I was like, well, I understand that we have limitations. And I understand that certain things, especially when it comes to health things, we have to be really respectful to the person. But the thing is, it's kind of like I cannot let Neander know that I'm being careful with him, because otherwise he's gonna start behaving in a different way. I need to treat Neander as he's just like anybody else. As a matter of fact, because he's my friend, I'm gonna expect more out of him than the people that I just met. So when I told you this thing, I was like, once Neander sees the way I look at him and he sees what I see, everything's gonna change. So I knew that, and those guys in Oklahoma, you gotta understand what Oklahoma is. Oklahoma is almost the number one place of wrestling in the whole United States.
Really?
They say that if you start wrestling at 5 years old in Oklahoma, you already start late, because that's their sport. They don't have any other sport. They have football and wrestling. There's only two things, but wrestling is really big. As a matter of fact, the coach from Oklahoma, he's the Olympic wrestler for the United States. He's the number one guy, the guy named John Smith.
Oh, wow.
So OU is really known for their wrestling, and they get the big guys. You saw those guys are big. But once you saw that it didn't matter how big they were because you had the technique, then you're like, man, I can do this. And I remember you going to the tournaments, and it's kind of like you didn't have to think too much about it. Sometimes we make these monsters and we make things up in our heads that it's kind of like when a kid says, "Hey, Daddy, I saw a monster here in my closet," and you say, "No, just go back to sleep." But if you actually go there and pretend there is a monster and stuff, they may, okay, he made sure. You know what I mean? I was like, I kind of like, you never told me that you had a heart condition, but I went there and I was like, "Hey, man, there's no monster here." You know what I mean? I'm gonna roll until he tells me that something is wrong. When you look at your daughter, you know what she's capable of. Yeah. But maybe she won't believe it. Daddy, I can do it. No, honey, you can ride a bicycle. No, Daddy, it's too hard. And you're like, honey, once you get it, you won't forget it. And it's kind of like, and she's gonna, you think so? You really think so, Daddy? I'm sure, honey. I'm sure. I promise you. But sometimes the lack of sight blinds us. It's just like when we were talking about investment. For somebody that doesn't know much, he's like, man, that's another gimmick. All these things, I heard that 1,000 times. So this is not going to work because they lack sight. You already seen it. You've done it yourself. So it's capable, but they won't believe it. So what do? You're like, no, man, you gotta trust me. Believe it. That was the main thing that we used to say at the class. Believe it. I know right now you don't understand what I'm saying, but you gotta believe it. Do you believe it?
Waking up to success, now we getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting, building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions, no stopping. While we sip on gourmet coffee.